Good afternoon, graduates, professors, staff, friends, and family. My name is Srobona, and I am incredibly honored to be the class of 2022's valedictorian. Thank you so much to my class for letting me be up here to represent you. It feels so surreal to be back in London and to see so many faces here today, and I really truly mean your whole faces. I'm truly grateful that our class has afforded this opportunity to come together and celebrate this important milestone in our lives with our colleagues and our loved ones. So first and foremost, thank you so much to everyone who helped plan our convocation in this gathering, and for that means so much to all of us. I imagine it must have been quite difficult planning a gathering of this size, given all the uncertainties we've been facing in these unprecedented times. I feel like that has to be the official slogan of the class of 2022. We are a group of law students who are taught every day to pay close attention to precedent, only to be thrown into unprecedented times. As a side note, I've tried to keep my use of the words unprecedented times to a bare minimum in the speech, starting now, for the sake of our sanity. I must admit, I was quite nervous about what I was going to say to a group of graduating law students who have just endured some of the most isolating times in our living history, having spent at least one full year at Zoom Law School. But then I was sent the itinerary for today and saw that I was speaking after lunch, which was a huge relief, because basically anything I say now will sound 10 times better now that you're all well fed. While our time at Western Law is what brings us together today, I think we would do well not to forget all that we brought with us before first stepping through the doors of the Josephine Spencer Niblett Law Building. I think our class was incredibly lucky to have been surrounded by such high-caliber peers from all paths of life. Did you know that about 40% of our class is fluent in 2 or more languages? I find that personally extremely impressive, considering how much I questioned whether I even understood the English language after having to read some of those old contract law cases from the 1800s. Some of our peers are not only the first to attend law school in their families, but are also the first to attend and complete post-secondary education. Some came to law school having already worked a few years in the industry as educators, entrepreneurs, and engineers. Others hailed from academia and research, and others still came directly from undergrad, like myself. No 2 stories are alike in our class, and having the opportunity to learn about each of my classmates' unique experiences and what brought them to Western Law is part of what made our time here so special. I hope that when we leave here to join the legal profession, continue our studies, or pursue other non-legal careers, that we are able to leverage our past experiences and apply the skills that we had developed before coming to law school. To be honest, I personally knew very little of what to expect from law school. My only points of reference were Legally Blonde and How to Get Away with Murder. Can't really say that my time resembled either of those, thankfully. Not to mention that no amount of binge-watching legal dramas could prepare me for a global pandemic. It's difficult to imagine what a normal law school experience would have been like for us. On one hand, we still got to experience many of the rites of passages that the upper years warned us about, like writing our first set of December exams in 1L, or bonding over our least favorite course and telling absolutely anybody who would listen why it was civil procedure. And waking up for Thursday morning classes after denning. For those of our guests who may not be familiar with what a denning is, your graduates may have some explaining to do. While we were fortunate enough to get a taste of this normal law school experience, our time at Western Law was anything but. And yet, it was the challenging moments that bonded us and showed us that no matter what we were going through, we weren't going through it alone. Together, we have learned to thrive in new work environments, whether they be socially distanced classrooms or our living room couch. We are now more familiar with virtual hearings and how the effective use of technology could be instrumental in improving access to justice, and virtual hearings are just the beginning. We have worked so hard to overcome and make the most of every obstacle that was thrown our way these past few years. And I have no doubt that we've emerged from them as more resilient, patient, and creative problem solvers. During our orientation week in 1L, we heard from a keynote speaker, Barbara Leggett. who spoke about the privileges and duties that come with being a lawyer. We then took a pledge to conduct ourselves with honesty, integrity, and civility, and to use our education and leadership ability to serve the public good. I remember sitting in that hall, listening to Ms. Leggett's speech, wondering if I had what it took. Luckily, we weren't given any time at all to sit around pondering our life decisions, because it wasn't long before we were making new friends, participating in our first groups, joining new clubs and clinics, writing that earth-shattering 5% case brief, and being sent half a dozen summaries from our upper year mentors, only to then open the summaries in a panic 1 week before December exams. And on top of all the stresses of 1L, I remember thinking that the upper years somehow made law school look so effortless. They managed to not only keep up with their own readings, assignments, and exams, but they were also running all of the amazing social, educational, and professional events at our school, and were always available to lend an ear to us 1Ls who needed to rant about our latest LRWA crisis. It wasn't until I was in 2L, and then finally in 3L, that I realized absolutely none of us would describe law school as effortless. Instead, everybody was just doing their best to look out for each other, whether that meant checking in on a friend that we knew was overwhelmed, or proactively sending our class notes to a friend who had to miss class due to illness or family commitment. There was no shortage of camaraderie or empathy during our time at Western Law. When previous classes of law students moved on in their careers, our class in turn became the mentors and the leaders for the incoming 1L and 2L students. And we took that responsibility seriously. In our short time at Western Law, our classes made several positive contributions to future generations of law students and the legal profession in our community. Our classmates have advanced the missions of our various pro bono legal clinics at Western Law, and have even helped launch our brand new intellectual property and legal innovation clinic. Some of our peers have been fierce advocates for creating a more equitable and inclusive environment at our law school and in the legal profession through running educational series like Diversity Month, creating new organizations like Western Women in Law, and leading and working on initiatives like the Anti-Racism Working Group and the Hidden Racial Profiling Project. This commitment to identifying where work still needs to be done, and then putting in the time and effort required to enact change, leaves me with no doubt in the future of our graduates and the positive impact that they will most surely have in the legal profession. Now I could spend all day standing up here listing off your various accomplishments that you should all be so incredibly proud of. But the truth is, even though we've made it this far, there may still be a little voice in our head that pops up from time to time that asks, do I belong here? The feelings of imposter syndrome that we each may be experienced and pushed down will inevitably creep up from time to time. So I'd like to take a moment to talk about some of the lessons that I've taken away during my time at law school, and I hope that they will provide you with some comfort wherever you may go. First, know that law school was the right decision. I say this partially because we paid our tuition and can't go back, it's done now, and because studying for the bar makes me question my decision to come to law school about twice a day. But jokes aside, the opportunities after law school really are limitless. It's true what people say about law school teaching you how to learn, rather than strictly teaching you the substantive law. You are now more resourceful and informed members of society. Make the most of the education that you've received to support others and be a force for positive change. Next, ask for help when you need it, and be generous with your time in return. I spent so much time, particularly in 1L, worried that I was asking too many questions of my upper year mentors and my professors, thinking that I was taking up too much of their time. The truth is, most people are willing to help, and it's just our responsibility to ask. If we all strive to help others whenever we can, then we should have no problem in asking for help in return, because we know that others will be there to support us, just as we have been there to support them. And finally, while our law school classes might have been graded on the dreaded B curve, our careers won't be. Just as no two paths coming into Western Law were the same, I expect no two paths leaving here will be either. Success comes in all forms. So check in on yourself and reflect on what makes you truly happy, rather than what others tell you should make you happy. Now, I would be remiss if I did not spend just a little bit of time acknowledging some of the efforts of some of the people who have been encouraging us throughout our education and have made all of this possible. So first, thank you to our professors for your ongoing investment in our legal education and your mentorship. I'm sure many of you have developed strong relationships and connections with members of our graduating class, and that you're just as excited to see what our futures hold as we are. Thank you to our administrative staff, the Career and Professional Development Office, our school librarians, caretakers, and chamber staff. There is just so much work that happens at our school behind the scenes that we often take for granted, but it all makes the high quality of our education at Western Law possible. And in that vein, I'd like to extend a special thank you to Dean Chamberlain for showing us that competence and strong leadership are not at odds with compassion and empathy, but are in fact defined by them. It's been a challenging few years, and I can't see Dean Chamberlain right. Oh, Dean Chamberlain. Dean Chamberlain, you've shown us repeatedly that you care about our well-being in addition to our academic and professional successes. So thank you. Woo. And finally, thank you to our families and our friends who have come out here to support us today, as well as everyone who cannot be here. You know better than anyone that it took a village of people who loved us and made sacrifices for us to get us to where we are now. While it's not easy being a law student, I imagine it's no small challenge being a family member or a friend or a partner or even a pet of a law student. We're not exactly known for being an easygoing bunch. Your unconditional love and encouragement has not gone unnoticed. Our time at Western Law is quickly coming to a close. And while this big moment will be one that we will carry with us for the rest of our lives, I will also think back fondly to the little things that brought me joy each time I was on campus, like the smell of fresh coffee walking through chambers before morning classes, taking a walk around our beautiful campus during breaks, and catching up in whispers with friends that I would bump into in the library. We might have come to the school knowing maybe a handful of others, if any, but we are now leaving with some 180 lifelong allies and a strong and supportive alumni network that spans the globe. I am hopeful for the bright futures that we all have ahead of us. Use what you have learned not only at law school, but in your lives before it. Take the support you've gotten this far and pay it forward. Treat others with compassion and empathy. And most importantly, be kind to yourselves. You have all earned this, and you deserve this amazing accomplishment. Also, I'm pretty sure you can count my use of the words unprecedented times on one hand, so you're welcome. Congratulations, class of 2022, and best of luck to you all.